Cloud security isn't just about staying ahead, it's about reinventing how we approach threats before they even materialize. To talk about this, we have someone who's seen cloud security challenges up close and understands what organizations truly need. Please join me in welcoming Vijay Mirji from DXC onto this stage. A little bit about the speaker today. Vijay is a global security delivery head for DXC Technology. He's also a security subject matter expert with over 30 years in the industry and 25 of them exclusively in cybersecurity itself. He works with Fortune 500 clients across the globe, helping them adopt modern security processes as well as solutions. His views on adopting key innovations like AI and IoT integration for security have received a lot of critical acclaim. He takes his SME status seriously in helping companies improve their risk profile. Vijay?
Okay. Am I audible? Thank you. So this is actually one of the worst times to come on stage to speak, right? That's why I said let's start with coffee. How many of you feel like this fellow here on the screen? That you really need something to wake you up? I thought we'll start with a little game, right? First of all, to get you guys engaged, to see how you're doing in terms of your attention span. How many of you know the word ass? ASS. 2 people? Come on, guys. Okay, we're seeing a few more hands. People are recognizing. Ass, 2 meanings. 1, the animal. How many of you know ass the animal? More people know ass the animal. How many of you know ass the butt? Fewer people? All of us have one. If you just don't know that, look behind yourself. So, very quickly, ass has different ways of manifesting itself. And I'm talking about the butt ass, not the animal ass. If I say good ass, what do you guys think of it? Positive, negative. Let's just do positive or negative. Positive or negative? Good ass. Positive, negative, hello? Positive, okay. Bad ass. Positive again. So the good and the bad don't seem to kind of negate themselves with the word ass. So it's a good thing, right? So ass is a good word then. Let's go forward. Lazy ass. Good, bad? Bad, negative? Yeah, of course. I'm a lazy ass guy. Smart ass. Positive, negative? Positive, okay. I hear things, he's smart ass guy is positive. He's a smart ass. Dumb. Dumbass. Negative, right? Now, let's change the way to look at the word ass. My ass. What does that mean? So if I were to say, this is a fantastic hotel, you would say, fantastic hotel, my ass. Good, bad? Bad, right? And if I would say, piece of ass, how do you relate to that? This guy here on the stage is a piece of ass. Good, right? You think I'm good looking? That's what it means. Okay, so hopefully my ass has woken you all up. From slumber, I can't offer you coffee, but I offered you ass. So now that I heard claps, I could either go or continue. I'll continue. Otherwise, Chandra here will take offense to have invited me. So we heard this morning from a few good gentlemen and a lovely lady that prevention is better than cure. How many of you agree with that? For healthcare, I agree, 100%. Healthcare and cyber are very similar that way, right? You want to prevent and not actually go to the hospital. How many of you think that prevention is possible in cyber, not in healthcare? In healthcare, yeah, you can practice all the good habits and be healthy, hopefully. But in cyber, how many of you, with a show of hands, think prevention is possible? Okay, I would say that's about 8% of this room. So do I take the others think prevention is not possible in cyber? Raise of hands on that, please. One hand. So I don't know what the others are, you're ambivalent. You don't know, you don't understand, you don't care. You're still thinking of the ass that's on the stage. Yeah. Now, what I'm here to talk about is that prevention is not always possible. My theory, and you just heard the lovely lady here introduce me as saying I've spent 25 years in cyber, and that's why my hair is gray. Not otherwise, I'm not old. It's just tension, guys. It's a lot of work. So we'll talk a little bit about, okay, this has to move, okay, it did. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about what are the issues that we deal with in cyber. And I've dealt with my share of them over the last 25 years. The biggest issue I have seen, I have experienced, is we just don't have visibility. What you heard Preeti tell us, she's going to give us a fantastic view of everything. And Preeti will hold you to it. We need to get a view of everything that is there in the enterprise. It could be in the cloud, it could be in one cloud, private cloud, public cloud, multiple versions of public cloud, enterprise, wherever you have it. We need visibility. Don't forget the endpoints. We talked about how, we learned, Adam told us about how vulnerability is exploitable at the weakest link, right? Now, what is that weakest link? It's the user's asset, which is their laptops. I see a few of them sitting on the tables here. Those are your most vulnerable assets. We need visibility to that as well. Without having that visibility, the problem is you don't know what you are dealing with. And I'll explain to you a concept. Some of you may know this. We constantly hear about this in management school. It's called the Johari window. The Johari window has 4 quadrants, right? Quadrant number 1, known knowns. I know what the risk is. I know who are the threat actors. I can handle it easy peasy, like Adam would say. Very easy on the MITRE attack framework. The next quadrant number 2, is the unknown knowns. I don't know what the threats are, but I know who the threat actors are that are trying to attack me. I know what vectors they're going to use, but I don't know what payloads will come out, how they will attack me. I don't know that. The third quadrant is the unknown knowns. I know what the threats are, but I don't know who the attacker is. So we are kind of 2 different unknowns here. And the last one is what keeps us all awake. And that one is the unknown unknowns. 0-day, ransomware, all of those nice toys that we have in our threat actors' hands. That's what really makes us feel sleepless at nights. We want to make sure that we have a way of finding out that anomaly that is critical for us to identify and work upon. When an organization gets billions of events per day in the SOC, and I was having a conversation with my good friend Anand here, I told him SIM is dead. True, SIM is dead. I don't know how many of you agree with that. How many of you agree with SIM is dead? 2, 3 people. Okay? The others, welcome to the world, smell the coffee. I showed you that fellow right in the beginning. He's also not smelling his coffee. SIM is dead. You cannot handle that one incident that will break your enterprise. You cannot handle it with a SIM. So it's important for us to get up and realize that while prevention is the holy grail, my theory is get visibility, remediate. So unless we have the ability to get visibility, to look at what we have in the enterprise, understand what are the complexities we are dealing with, and then remediate them in time, we are not going to be successful. As an enterprise, I look at it as a cyber SME. I look at it and say, what do I do? How do I make sure that I get visibility, and how do I remediate from there? It's easy for us to say, okay, we provide you visibility. Yeah, sure. Preeti's provided us a platform, will give us visibility. We'll see everything that's happening in the enterprise. But then what? We'll use all the nice things like AI to get that visibility. But unless we have a sure shot way of remediation, and again, Adam talked about that in his session, remediate. If you don't remediate in time, quickly, and we also heard about true remediation, right? Preeti talked about true remediation as well. What does that mean? That means fix it at the right time. Now, if you look at the differences between IT and cyber, and that's another point of conversation that came up earlier, and I think it was Neil who talked about it. We know that IT and cyber don't always go hand in hand. Yeah, IT says I have 1 million vulnerabilities. Cyber says you have 1 million vulnerabilities. IT says we fix them all. But is that true? The answer is they don't know what they're fixing. And they don't know why they're fixing what they're fixing. It's our responsibility to be able to provide that visibility, to help them understand what it is that needs to be fixed, how quickly it needs to be fixed, why it needs to be fixed, what is the risk if it is not fixed. That is possible through a complex mechanism of AI-driven automation today. We're able to use AI to tell us which are those risks that need to be fixed, why they need to be fixed, how they need to be fixed, and can we also automate that fix? Now, I'll also tell you that a CISO is always treats automation as the enemy. And the reason they do that is because if they automatically fix something and it does not fix the underlying issue, they have 2 problems to deal with. One is the IT guys who are mad because something was fixed and now something else is broken, and the actual vulnerability never got fixed because you've upgraded something, upgraded an operating system, which broke an application behind the scene. However, the vulnerability is still able to expose whatever threat actor is still able to expose the vulnerability that is underlying, so you fix nothing. So CISOs treat automation as an enemy. We need to be able to find ways and means to fix that, close that gap. And the only way to close that gap is to be able to use augmented automation to help us use that automation, the power of that automation, the speed of remediation, but at the same time be vigilant about what is being fixed and how we are fixing it. And that's what, my friends, is true remediation. when you have come to a point where you've said, I will look at all the issues that we have in the enterprise, I will look at all of the vulnerabilities that I'm dealing with, all of the misconfigurations we have in the enterprise, on the cloud, on the endpoints, wherever they are, in the applications, and find the right way, the right means to fix those vulnerabilities. That's what is true remediation. If you have failures to compliance, yeah, that's a pain, again, in the ass. But it used to be pain in the neck a few years ago, but now it's become pain in the ass. It is, right? Compliance, I mean, that auditor is going to sit on your head and say, maybe sit on the ass and say, what are you doing? Why aren't you remediating? Why aren't you fixing this vulnerability? Why aren't you helping the organization be compliant with X, Y, or Z regulation? And we heard PCI DSS come up a few times. And all of you, I know some of you here are from some of the banks. I'm sure all of you worried about PCI DSS compliance. But if you don't remediate, how do you achieve that compliance? That's what your auditor is going to ask you. My question, friends, to you is, you remediate. I'm sure you remediate, but are you remediating on time? Are you remediating quick enough? Not because you have to meet compliance obligations, but because you have to beat the threat actor. Right? And we heard from Chandra in the morning, there's a guy sitting on the railway tracks waiting for the train to come and say, let it come. We don't want that. We want to be able to prevent. Yeah, of course, sure, why not? But more importantly, if something does happen, and it will happen, I should say something else here, very controversial. There are only 2 types of CISOs in the world. Can you tell me what types? Anyone? Sorry?
One CISO who is hacked already and one who is going to be hacked.
Well, one who is breached and the other who doesn't know they've been breached. It's not going to be. They've all been breached. Let's face it. Every organization has been breached. You want to challenge me on that? Sure, I'll put 100 rupees right now on the table. Yeah, that's all I get paid, so I can put 100 rupees on the table. Yeah, you can buy you a cup of coffee with that. Not here, outside. Right across the road. Don't have to go far. So point is, everyone's been breached. The question is, how quickly, how resilient are you to come up from that breach? How quickly can you remediate? How quickly can you access your data stored in that secure vault and get back up again? Important for us to understand those aspects, and therefore true remediation is important. So we talk about a lot of things, right? One of the biggest issues that we deal with, and if you plot a graph, I encourage you to plot a graph. I was doing it very recently for one of my dear clients. We were looking at MTTD versus MTTR. MTTD being mean time to detect, MTTR mean time to remediate, not respond, remediate. Yeah, respond is very quick, right? We always say, yes, we acknowledge that you've received this alert. Doesn't take you much time. Now, what you will notice, and those of you that have access to this data, your SIM will provide you that data. That's something that a SIM is useful for. So if you map that data, you will see the MTTD has gone like this. Mean time to detect has reduced. Why? Because stupid people like me, graying their hair, are sitting and looking at the screen and saying, oh, I found something. I found something. We're able to do that. And we're able to use AI to tell us that something has gone wrong. We get AI to tell us that there's a port open and therefore it is risk to us, as if we didn't know that before. But AI can do it better. It can tell you faster. At the same time, mean time to remediate keeps going up. Or maybe it comes down at some point. Why does that happen? That happens not because the guys who are supposed to remediate are lazy. Yeah, lazy ass, remember? Maybe it's not because they are lazy. It's because there is just too much to do. And maybe there's so much dependency because your enterprise has become so much more complex that they just aren't able to converge and agree on a remediation. So true remediation, like prevention, seems to be a pipe dream. Can you imagine getting your enterprise to 0 vulnerabilities? Or 0 unpatched vulnerabilities? Or 0 systems that are running on older operating systems? Anyone? Anyone can raise their hand and say, yes, my organization, we have everything on the latest patch levels? No. Doesn't exist. Can't happen. So what do? Your only way of doing that is to make sure that your vulnerability management, your IT operations, they work together. Make sure that your patching cycles are in sync, that your application owners agree with you, which doesn't happen all the time, because they are the worst. Right? Application owners never listen to you because they live in their own world. They think that they are the reason why all of us exist. And yeah, we do. So if we look at bringing out all of those different elements together and making sure that not only are we keeping our security programs well coordinated, but we are also at the same time ensuring that we are moving in the same direction. One of my favorites from physics whenever I studied thousands of years ago was vector and scalar, and I always like to talk about it. We need to imbibe the qualities of a vector in cybersecurity. We need to move in the right direction, have that, not just the speed, but have the right direction in mind. We can't be scalars anymore. That day and age of being a scalar is gone. You can't have only speed. Yeah. Now, we heard about what saner cloud can do. Yeah, it can give you visibility across the enterprise, across your cloud platforms, hybrid, multi-cloud, etc. Now, the problem is that while it is possible to bring that information all together, the problem is there will always be a disparity in these mix. Your on-prem systems will be operating on a completely different paradigm. Your cloud systems will be operating on a different paradigm. How do you converge the two to come together and give you the right view? It doesn't happen automatically. Despite the fact that you might say, I'm pulling the data and putting it in front of you, you saw it in the demo that Preeti gave us, that there were differences even in different cloud platforms, right? How the data from AWS versus Azure was coming out, and I didn't see GCP here, so I'm assuming Preeti doesn't like the folks at Google. But hey, that's reality, right? We all use different cloud platforms. Yeah. In fact, when we started, and that is a question I asked Neil when he was here, I don't see him here now. When you look at cloud platforms, the problem is people started to think of, yes, I will use the cloud, and I will move my assets into the cloud, I will move my applications, workloads into the cloud. And they said, my choice is AWS. I have seen so many companies come and say, my choice is AWS or Azure because someone talked about Microsoft. Yeah, I have a great partnership with Microsoft, so I'll move everything to Microsoft Cloud. Someone said, I choose AWS, and someone else said, I'll choose Google. But you know what? The reality is that companies are choosing every different hyperscaler for different reasons. either for cost or performance or someone's uncle works somewhere, something or the other, some reason, they end up choosing multiple hyperscalers. And this is only the public clouds. Then you have the other clouds like your IBM and Oracle. Anyone remember those guys? They're still there, by the way. They still have their cloud platforms, not visible. Alibaba too. DeepSeek is on Alibaba. Any one of you who's tried DeepSeek, you've logged into Alibaba. Given up your freedom, given up all your data. But hey, Chinese are good guys. I'm not saying anything bad about them. Good stuff, yeah? Reduces your compute requirements by 1 million, not dollars, times. So if you needed 1 million qubits, now you need only 1 qubit with DeepSeek. But Chinese are breaking the bank everywhere. Yeah? So the problem is that we are unprepared to handle this complexity. And we will continue to remain unprepared to handle this complexity for the foreseeable future. That's reality. Don't let the guys at SecPod tell you we'll sort it out for you. They can't. So Chandra, no offense, huh? So in summary, what do I have? AI is ubiquitous, right? We heard that from the guys in the morning. We will hear more of that from the guys coming up in the afternoon. Hopefully you'll all be awake by then. You'll hear that AI is the best thing since sliced bread. And sliced bread is awesome for those of you that need to make quick breakfast. So AI is the next best thing after sliced bread. You can quickly get up and running, early morning breakfast, no problem, slap some butter on it. That's exactly how AI is. It'll do your job for you very quickly. Like we talked about the port that was open. We knew it was dangerous earlier, but AI came and told us that yes, it is actually dangerous. So we believe it now more than we believed it earlier. Because the guy who told you earlier was this fellow. Lazy ass, smart ass, right? Big ass, whatever you want to call. So he told you that that port that was open was dangerous. You never believed. AI came and told you the same thing. I said, oh, you know what? AI has told me it definitely has to be dangerous. So AI will come and tell you that I am the true enabler to make sure that your remediation cycle is successful, that you're able to prevent attacks and not just remediate after the attacks have taken place. All of it true. AI is going to change the way we work. If you look at AI, AI is not just going to be a simple change or a way to do things faster. It's going to be a generational shift in how we do things. So my sincere advice to all of you that are thinking of AI or sitting on the fence for AI in terms of cybersecurity, please adopt it. Embrace it with open arms. It is going to change the way we do things in cyber in the future, at least our children's future, if not ours. But yeah, that is going to be a generational shift in how cybersecurity will be handled going forward. If you want to build better visibility across the enterprise, use AI. If you want to build quicker remediation, use AI. If you don't want to be the guy sitting on the railway tracks, like Chandra wanted you to believe, use AI. And bottom line is that today is Friday. Yeah. So please relax, but don't go to sleep. You come here, I couldn't offer you coffee, so I offered you my little friend here. So hopefully you all are awake now, if not entertained. I'm happy to take questions. Okay, I think I just put you all to sleep. I can call out names to ask questions. I do that all the time. No? Okay, thank you very much. That was my time.